الله أكبر الله أكبر.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين محمد ومن تبع هداه إلى يوم الدين. We start our program inshallah ta'ala right now with brother Khalil Bey. He's the founder and the executive director of MLF America, Muslim Legal Fund of America. Inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullah khair, barakallah feek. Inshallah, brother Khalil will start the lecture.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa ala alayhi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum. Kayfa halak? Alhamdulillah. Let's start our program tonight by saying Alhamdulillah. Say Alhamdulillah for Allah giving us the beautiful religion of Islam, for our families, and all the blessings in our lives. Say Alhamdulillah. Say Alhamdulillah for Allah giving us one more day to worship Him, to seek His forgiveness, to ask for His bounties. Say Alhamdulillah. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created the heavens and the earth, He set up a balance of justice. Allah Himself is Al-Adl, the just. Allah ordered Muslims to be just. He said, O you who believe, stand out firmly for Allah and be just. Be just, that is next to taqwa, next to piety. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said every day in which the sun rises, there's a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who establish justice among the people. Tonight, brothers and sisters, it's my honor to be here representing an organization whose noble mission is to try to fulfill the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trying to establish justice. The Muslim Legal Fund of America. My name is Khalil Meek, and as the brother mentioned, I am one of the founders. I'm the current executive director for a charity that helps Muslims protect their rights in court. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I grew up in a Christian family. In college, I wanted to be a Baptist preacher. But alhamdulillah, I took my Shahada 25 years ago. Takbir. And as a Muslim, I love Islam, I love the Muslim community, and I want to do everything I can to help make a positive impact, contribution to our religion, to our community, and to our families. I'm also an American citizen. As an American citizen, I love this country. I love the principles, the foundation that America has been built upon. America is a nation of laws. America is a nation that has freedoms and liberties that are guaranteed to us. The freedom of religion, the freedom of expression, the freedom of association, the freedom of assembly. We have an open and transparent form of government. We have checks and balances in our government. We have the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch. If one of them messes up, the other can correct it. These principles, this foundation, has given this country its strength. It has given it its prosperity. These principles have been fought and died for. People come from all over the world aspiring to be in this country because of our principles. But tonight, I'm going to share with you The fact that we have these principles, that we have these ideas, that we have this foundation, does not mean that we always live up to them. Many times in our history, we have fallen short. We have fallen short time and time and time again when we say one thing and we do another. The history of this country teaches us that fear is an enemy of justice. That when our fear gets to be personal, our ability to render justice falls. In World War II, we were afraid of the Japanese. We rounded them up and we put them in camps. We did the same thing to Germans. We were afraid. They were citizens. They had rights. They were equal to those who were arresting them. But they went to prison while the war was going on. The African American community struggled over 200 years, and even today that struggle continues for equality. When on paper they have it, when in reality they don't. Today, brothers and sisters, the Muslim community is going through its trial. It's time for the Muslims to deal with what almost all other minorities have dealt with. The Italians, the Jews, the African Americans, the Germans, the Japanese, all tasted it. All lived through it. Some of it still continues. And today, it's no secret that many people in this country fear Muslims. They fear Islam. They fear what they don't know. They fear what they think they do know. And when you mix fear with a minority, it's easy for the majority to treat them differently. Tonight I'm going to share with you, briefly as I can, things that are happening in our society, in the legal system. That's what we deal with. The Muslim Legal Fund handles cases all over the United States as a charity on behalf of Muslims. We collect money from Muslims just like you, and with the money we collect, we spend it on attorneys. We spend it on attorneys to defend our imams, our leaders, our activists, community organizations, any community member. When we think that the legal issue is unfair, unjust, or discriminatory against Muslims. Tonight I'm going to share with you examples of what I mean. I'm going to talk to you about what we do as an organization. I'm going to talk about why we do it. I'm going to talk about why I think that you should care. And then I'm going to ask you if you agree. So if you like what you hear, I'm going to try to move your head. Then I'm going to try to move your wallet. And then we brought a guest speaker who's going to move your heart. So this program is special. Tonight, I hope each one of you leaves here extremely thankful that you spent this time with us. Nobody goes home upset. Nobody goes upset saying, I had something better I could have done. Only thing you are upset about is other people weren't here to share it with you. When this is over, I'm going to see if we delivered what we want to deliver. And you tell me yes or no. In our society today, the United States of America is the most regulated society on the planet. We're a nation of laws. We allow the legal system to hold everybody accountable. It's not a dictatorship. It's not a totalitarian. It's not communism. It's not social. It's a democracy. And it is a legal system. In this country, each and every one of you are considered to be innocent until proven guilty. For 200 years. That's the principle our legal system is built upon. Each and every one of you in this room tonight has rights that we say in our Constitution, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, to provide and to promote the general defense for everyone, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the people of the United States of America. Now let me ask you a question. Was the Constitution written as a document for the government to control the people? Yes or no? Was it a document for the people to control the government? Yeah. Why do we need a document that tells us we, the people, have the right to control you, the government? The government is us. We elect them. We put them there. We pick them. Why do we need a document that says we, the people, are the ones to hold you, the government, accountable? Why? Huh? Because history has taught every society that power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Government's nature is to possess power and to take more power and more power. So on its own, left unchecked, it will take anything and everything that it can. That's the nature of government. So we wrote a constitution that says we, the people, are not going to allow that to happen. We control you. So you can't do that. Now let me ask you a question. Because we have a piece of paper that says you, the government, can't do this, does it mean the government won't try? Nope. And if they try, what should happen? We, the people, should stop it. We have the power. We have the authority. We are the authority of this country, if we choose to use it. Today, brothers and sisters, living in a society that is filled with fear, ignorance, misunderstanding about a minority, like the Muslim community, when we see what's happening overseas and ISIS, and it is horrible, and I hope all of you disagree with their philosophy, their actions, and everything about them. But people here that aren't Muslim don't know the difference. And people act upon their fears. People are motivated first by fear, then by love and thought and goodwill. But fear is first. And after 9/11, our government passed new laws, more laws, to keep us safe. They said, never again. The attack on the World Trade Center, never going to happen again, as far as they can. They say that we're going to pass more rules, more laws, so that we can be safe. How many of you have heard of the legislation that passed right after 9/11, referred to as the Patriot Act? Raise your hand. How many of you read it?
No one.
One. He read the whole thing? MashaAllah, I'm impressed. More than your congressman, your senator, and everybody else combined. Now, in the Patriot Act, the government said we need more laws to keep us safe. I am for security. I do want to be safe. I want my family safe. I want my community safe. I want our children safe. I love security. And the government says to keep us safe, they need to do new things to keep us safe. One of the things that they said is that now that this 9/11 happened, we have what we're going to call a war on terror. Right? So now they're committing, like, we're going to war with this kind of stuff. We're not going to sit back and wait. We're at war. And in the Patriot Act, there are laws that you should be not only familiar with, aware of. They affect you right now. One of the laws I'm going to talk about is called the Material Support Statute. How many of you have heard of the Material Support Statute? Raise your hand. I'll use it in a sentence, and hopefully this will make it easy for everybody. It is against the law for any U.S. citizen or any resident who lives in the United States to provide material support to a designated terrorist or a terrorist organization. Okay? So with that definition, what are the things that come to your mind that are examples of material support? Shout them out.
Flag of ISIS.
Huh?
Flag of ISIS.
Money, yes. What did you say?
Flag of ISIS.
I can't understand what you're saying.
The flag of ISIS.
Oh, the flag of ISIS. I guess if you sew it for them, yeah. What else? Give me some more examples. We got money, weapons, translation. Yeah, the definition. Here's the definition. It says you cannot provide any money. You cannot provide any weapons. You cannot provide any personnel. That means you can't join them, nor can you recruit for them. You can't provide resources. You can't provide expert advice. You can't provide assistance of any kind. In fact, the definition is understood to mean you cannot provide anything that could be considered a benefit to a terrorist or a terrorist organization. Okay? Are we clear on what material support is? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a test. Khalil Meek decides to get on a plane in Chicago. I fly to Somalia. The reason I go is I want to help people. Tomorrow, I open a charity. I put up a sign that says, if you're hungry, come eat. Tomorrow, I feed over 200 people. Alhamdulillah. After I feed them, somebody comes up to Khalil and says, Khalil, do you know that 3 people who came today and ate your food, they're associated with a group called Al-Shabaab? Well, Al-Shabaab is designated, so technically I fed 3 terrorists. Is that material support? Yes or no? Still in Somalia. I need a haircut. I don't speak the language. I don't even know how to ask for a haircut. But I look around and I see a store that has a that red and white pole spinning outside of it. So I assume it's a barber shop. And I just walk up and I point to my head. The guy, he just points to the chair. So I sit down, he shaves my head. He holds up 10 fingers, so I give him $10. Assalamu alaikum. I got a haircut. After my haircut, I pick up the newspaper and I see a picture of my barber in the paper. So I read the article. It says my barber is associated with Al-Shabaab. I gave him $10. Is that material support?
Yes. Order the law, yes.
Last question. Still in Somalia, ask if I can speak to one of the leaders of Al-Shabaab. So one of the brothers says, yes, come with me. He takes me to the leader. I walk up to him. I say, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khalil. And I think what you're doing may be causing more harm than good. I want to give you advice. I think that all conflict will eventually end. And the sooner it ends, the better. Would you agree?
Yes.
So here is some advice from our prophet, peace be upon him. Here's some advice from Jesus, peace be upon him. Here's the advice of Gandhi. Or I say, here's the advice of Jimmy Carter, an ex-US president. I say, here is the best roadmap for peace ever. Would you please follow this? Assalamu alaikum. I gave advice to a terrorist. Is that material support?
No.
I told him to quit doing what he's doing. Yes or no?
Yes and no.
Now the reason I ask you these questions is that we covered the definition, we talked about it, we understood it, right? We know what they're talking, we know what it means. But with 3 examples, I get yes, no, maybe, kind of, could, yeah, well, all over the map. Now what happened after 9/11 is people had their lawyers read the Patriot Act. And their lawyers came to the material support statute. And they said, you guys need to be aware of this. And he was talking to charities, Muslim charities, non-Muslim charities, international organizations, people working all over the world, some in conflict zones, saying, look, this is what the government says is the law. You can't violate it. And it didn't take them long to start saying, well, look, we're in all these conflict zones. We're there to help people. We have no politics. What if? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? So they asked their lawyers and themselves to go and ask the government, what happens? What if this happens? Are we guilty? And the government says, well, we can't give you advice. Ask your lawyer. So they went in circles, and they got tired of it. So the charities, these international organizations, sued the government. They said, we cannot function in this vague environment. So they sued the government, and it was a lawsuit. It's called the Humanitarian Law Project. This lawsuit was led by David Cole, a constitutional scholar at Georgetown University. The lawsuit went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court heard the case. They understood the argument. They knew why they were having to make this decision. And their conclusion was, it is impossible for them to fix the problem with the definition. It says it's not going to happen. It can't. There's just too many examples. So we have to allow the Department of Justice to use its discretion. If the Department of Justice thinks what it sees fits the definition of material support, they're allowed to indict. They can charge you with the crime. It doesn't mean you're guilty, but they take you to court. And then they argue to the jury why they think it's a crime. If the jury agrees, the jury can convict. So you'll get answers in court. My question to you is this. Giving the Department of Justice that much discretion, do you think they may use their discretion in a political fashion? Do you think they may use their discretion to persecute someone while they prosecute them? Do you think they could become very creative in their ability to take a set of facts, twist it into a benefit, and charge somebody with a crime? I can assure you that not only can they have. I'll give you an example. The most famous example, and the one that still bothers me the most, is the case with the Holy Land Foundation. How many of you are familiar with the Holy Land? The Holy Land Foundation was the largest Muslim charity in the U.S. after 9/11. The biggest Muslim charity. In December of 2001, George Bush comes on TV and he tells us that he has reason to believe this charity is the largest source of funding for Hamas in America, he closes the charity by executive order. He tells the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, FBI, all law enforcement, take all their records, all their assets, take everything. And they do that, and they start to go through every transaction of the Holy Land. It takes them 4 years. 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. After 4 years, the Department of Justice come back and said this is a charity that provided food, clothing, shelter, education, and medical supplies to the needy people all over the world, and they focused most of their effort in Palestine. They said not one penny went to Hamas. Not one penny was missing. Nothing went for harm. Nothing went for violence. We said, Alhamdulillah. That's what they did. Yes. You know what the Department of Justice said? No, Alhamdulillah. They said, we now believe the Holy Land was in a conspiracy to provide material support. We asked them, what do you mean? They said, we see that the Holy Land provided aid to Palestinians, but they used the zakat committees in Palestine to deliver the aid, which is true. The government says, well, we think that the zakat committees might be under the influence of Hamas. And by delivering the aid to the Palestinians, it could be winning the hearts and minds of the Palestinians for the organization of Hamas. And that love and affection would be considered material support. So they prosecuted them, saying that if you feed children the wrong way, you can go to jail. In this environment, the government is moving away from the 200 years of principles and foundation that this country has been built. They're telling us that in the name of security, to keep us safe, that we can no longer protect all your civil rights and civil liberties. We need to take them back. You don't need them anymore. We need them. They say we want to have the right to use secret evidence in court. We want to be able to do what we call indefinite detention. We'll talk about that. They want to be able to say that we should be able to find someone guilty by association. That we're allowed to have illegal surveillance. That we can profile, we can discriminate, and we need to be able to do all of this in the name of security. After the Patriot Act, many other pieces of legislation have passed in that regard. The National Defense Authorization Act was passed by President Obama in December of 2011. President Obama said, I'm the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Forces. Right? He's in charge of the military. He's the top general. He says that generals in warfare do not use civil rights. When you're fighting, you don't grab somebody, take them to court, try them, convict them, and then shoot them. You just shoot them and they shoot you. So you're fighting. So there's no civil rights or civil liberties while you're fighting. Right? He says, so a general has to be able to prosecute a war without these rules. He says, I'm the general. I'm fighting a war. He says, my war is on terror. My battlefield is global. It's not just right here or right there. So because it's global, I need to have the right, as the general, to arrest anybody, anywhere, pick them up, put them in jail, detention. I don't have to give them any rights. I don't have to give them a lawyer. I don't have to tell them what they're accused of. I don't have to tell them how long they're going to be there. I can do this to anybody, anywhere, anytime, including U.S. citizens on American soil. National Defense Authorization Act. That violates every civil right and civil liberty we have. Just just right off the top. Now he goes on to say that to keep us safe, we need to hire informants. We need more information. We never have enough information. The more information, the better. So we have to tap your cell phones, we have to tap your computers, we have to look at everything. So we have to see it all. And if we don't see it all, we got to hear it all. Now, since we can't hear everything, we hire informants. Right? We need a bunch of informants. So the government says they hired 60,000 informants. Okay. Now, there's 2,000 masjids, 60,000 informants. That's about 30 per masjid. Assalamu alaikum. And we're glad you're here. We want you to keep us safe. In fact, we're glad that you're with us. Please stay with us. We want to be safe. We like informants. But here's the problem. What we see is these informants are hanging out with Muslims and nothing's going on. The Muslims are praying, they're fasting, their kids are growing up, they're doing everything, the most law-abiding group of people in the world. So these informants are reporting back nothing. So they're told to create something. So they become the radical. They become the idiot. They start talking nonsense. And they hope somebody will listen. And when they do, they become their friend. And when they become their friend, they're not here for a day, 2 days, a week. No, they're here for a year, 2 years, 3 years. However long it takes to radicalize someone in the community. And as soon as they can radicalize them, they arrest them. And say, we saved America. An investigative journalist named Trevor Aronson, got it backwards. Trevor Aronson wrote a book called The Terror Factory. You should read it. Every case in the United States that has an informant is basically an FBI idea, an FBI plot, FBI resources, FBI everything, and with somebody who went along far enough to be arrested. Our kids need to know this. You as parents need to know this. You can't just let them figure it out. If they get emotional about what happens back home, if they get emotional about what happens in their religion, they want to do something, they're not exactly sure, somebody talks to them close to Islam, right, gets their trust, they can take them. You won't even know it. You won't even have a clue. So education, and stay involved in your kids and their lives. Now, when this is all going on, the government says, you know what? We still need more. This isn't enough. We need some more. And what we want is to be able to get away from this guilty until proven innocent. That slows us down a lot. That really slows things down. If somebody has to commit a crime before we can do anything. We want to be able to arrest people before they commit a crime. They call it preemptive prosecution. You know how that works? Preemptive prosecution is illustrated best in a movie. How many of you saw a movie called Minority Report? This is a fiction Hollywood blockbuster. Tom Cruise is the lead, right? This movie, fiction, is about the future. And it says in the future, the police are so sophisticated that they have computers and psychics tell them where crimes will happen before they happen. So the police can rush to the scene before the crime, arrest the person before they do anything. There's no, it's perfect law enforcement. There's no crime in the future. Right? So they say, this is what we need. Preemptive prosecution. I'm going to give you an example, and then we're going to close. An example of preemptive prosecution would go something like this. Pretend that I'm an expert. I'm not an expert. Pretend. Pretend my expertise is in bank robbery. I've studied every bank robber in the U.S. for the last 200 years. I know everything about them. I know how they walk, how they talk, how they sleep, how they eat, how they dress. Everything about a bank robber, I am the expert. Would you like me to share with you the profile of a bank robber? Let's say bank robbers, for our example, they dress in a certain fashion. Okay? So the dress of a bank, first off, let's go back. From my knowledge as an expert, I know that most bank robbers are men, not women. So sisters, you say. And it's usually men over the age of 40. So you young guys, you're safe. The rest of you, I'm watching. Now for our example, let's pretend our bank robber dresses in a certain fashion. Let's say our bank robber, who am I going to pick on? Bank robbers like to wear, no, I'm going to pick on my guy here, right here. The blue jeans, black socks, the brown jacket, he's got a beard and a purple hat. What's your name? Huh? Zamir. Zamir, as an expert, I think you should know that you dress, you look like a bank robber. It's not a crime. Zamir. I'm not even really worried about it. For me as an expert to get nervous, there would have to actually be banks in Wheaton. Are there any banks around here? Here in Wheaton? That's not good. Zamir, have you ever been to a bank in Wheaton? Yes or no? Huh? Yes? That's not good. Have you ever opened a checking account? Sometimes bank robbers will open checking accounts before they rob the bank to become familiar with all the banking habits. Yes or no? That's not good. Zamir. Now folks, before we get too far, if somebody robs a bank, they get the money. What's the most important thing that must happen next? They got the money. Then what? Huh? Yeah, it's time to get away, right? Now, Zamir, you don't own the car, do you? You're in the house of Allah. You want to repeat that? Do you own a car? Do you drive a car? Zamir, this is horrible. Folks, based on my expertise and what we just learned here tonight, I think Zamir's about to rob a bank. How many of you think we should arrest him before that happens? Do not look around. Now you see everybody's giggling and laughing, right? Because they see how silly and how stupid that rationale is. Right? You get it. That's absurd. But if we take the same example and we twist it just a little bit. Let's pretend instead of being a bank robber expert, now I'm a terrorism expert. I know everything about terrorists. I know how they walk, how they talk, how they think, how they dress. I'm the authority. I am the expert on terror. Now let's pretend terrorists have a certain dress and a profile. Let's pretend terrorists like to dress in black jackets, gray pants, blue shirts, wear glasses, and have dark hair. What's your name? Suhaib. Suhaib, as an expert in terrorism, you should know that you dress and look like a terrorist. Where are you from? Where? Huh? Hyderabad. Where are you from?
Pakistan.
Ooh, that would have been better. You're my terrorist.
Not at all.
Like white jackets and blue pants, white sun. All right, so you're from Pakistan. That's horrible. You know what's going on in Pakistan, right? Yeah, this is not looking good for you. Have you ever been to Pakistan?
Yes.
Well, that's not good. You going back anytime soon? Funeral, wedding? You know what? As soon as you buy a plane ticket, I'm going to have you arrested. Because I think what you're going to do in Pakistan is harmful. And I'm going to take you to court. And as an expert, I'm going to argue to a jury that watches CNN, Fox News, Peter King, anti-Sharia legislation? Why I think you're a problem, a threat. Now how funny is this? That lost all the humor, didn't it? Now pretending that we had to deal with this. Your name is?
Tariq.
Tariq. Tariq, if you had to deal with something like this, and you had to hire a lawyer, how much do you have to pay lawyers?
Millions.
You pay them they work by the hour, right? So how much do they earn per hour? Yeah, the national average is $250, but it can be $300, $400, $500. I've seen $750 for 1 hour. But let's pretend the average is $250 for 1 hour. How many hours do you think you will have to pay your lawyer to defend you? Huh? Thousands? Well, first thing would happen is, Tariq, you would just get arrested. You'll go to jail. You'll just sit there for a year or a year and a half. Nothing's going to happen. No trial. Because whoever you hire as your lawyer has got to catch up. He has to learn everything about you. Right? He has to know how you grew up, who you know, who you don't know, where you've been, where you haven't been, what the government says. He has to absorb all of it to prepare to defend you. He will spend 500 to 1,000 hours preparing for trial. Now, if you had to pay him for 1,000 hours and only $250 per hour, how much is that? $250,000. How many of you have $250,000 in case you need it? See me after the lecture. Right, so if you can't afford it, or you can't afford your own attorney, what happens? Huh? No. We live in the greatest country in the world. They say, our country says, you know what? We consider your right to self-defense so important. I said, that's the highest level here, right? So if you can't afford an attorney, we'll provide one for you for free. We will give you an attorney. And we will pick, not you. Now let me ask you this. Would you like to go out and look at, talk to a bunch of attorneys, find the best attorney in the country who has a lot of experience, he likes Muslims, he wants to defend you, he's passionate, he knows the experts, and he's going to bleed to give you your chance in court? Or do you want a public defender who's on the payroll of the government, who's told to defend you, and hopefully he has 500 to 1,000 hours, and he doesn't have any issues with Islam or Muslims, and he will represent you to his best? Which would you prefer? The first one. Now, if you can't afford that, how would it happen? Huh?
The Islamic Jama will provide. Islamic organization.
Yeah. The Muslim Legal Fund of America could come to Wheaton in Illinois and tell everybody in America, hey, we think this is crazy what's happening to Tariq, and we want to give him an opportunity to have his rights protected in court, and we want to hire the best lawyer in the country to do it, and we want all of you to donate to the legal fund, and we can hire the best experts, and we can get all of its tax exempt, zakat eligible, and we're going to give you that opportunity. We can do that with imams, leaders, activists, organizations, anybody in the United States. We've done that for 14 years. Read the brochures, read the books, go to our website. We've been taking cases on behalf of the Muslim community with the best lawyers in the country to set the best precedents that apply to all of us. The Muslim Legal Fund is continuing to improve. We've worked so much in this field, right? Immigration, with the SSS, with the no-fly list, with people's status not getting through the government, with the just pending in limbo, get their citizenship, get them off the list, sue the government for the no-fly, deal with the civil rights cases of the imams are flying on the plane to get arrested for no reason and sue the airline, and they pay money as a judgment to the imams. We have people like our charities, our imams and leaders that are just doing nothing but serving the community, and these regulations put them in court, and then they have to deal with it. We now have more experience as a legal organization than any other legal organization in America in national security issues. We have opened a nonprofit law firm, Now we're hiring our own lawyers to work full time. Not just the Muslims who come out of college, not just our local Muslim friends. We say we want the best lawyer in the country to be the leader, the director of the law firm. And we found him. And he accepted. We have a director in Dallas. His name is Charles Swift. Charles Swift was a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy, a JAG, a military lawyer. He was counsel for the United States Northwest Division of the Navy. They nominated Charlie to be the general counsel to the entire U.S. Navy. While Charlie was in the Navy for over 20 years, they told him to defend a man named Salim Hamdan. Who's Salim Hamdan? He was the driver of Osama bin Laden. They had caught the driver. So they took him to court. Charlie defended him. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court. It was Donald Rumsfeld versus Salim Hamdan. Charlie won the case. The driver went home to his family in Yemen. Charlie left the Navy. He opened his own law firm. We worked with him for the last 6-7 years on a lot of cases. He sees how the Muslim community is being dealt with in the legal system. And he says to me, Khalil, the issues in the Muslim community in court with immigration, civil, and criminal are setting precedents for all of America. These are the most serious issues of our day, and we need to do more. And we're like, well, we're giving you everything we can afford. Say, if you believe that, would you close your law firm and move to Dallas and be doing this full time? We'll give you a budget to hire the best lawyers, the best immigration, civil, and criminal to work with you and do it full time. He said yes. He's now in Dallas. You can pick up the phone and call our office. Charlie Swift will take your call and give you counsel. The Muslim Legal Fund is a resource for all of us. It is here to help us protect ourselves, to get our rights restored in court. All we want is fairness. If you do something wrong, don't call the Muslim Legal Fund. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We find you did something wrong, we're done. No thank you, have a nice day. But if there's no crime, no one's hurt, no property's damaged, you have been prosecuted, and you have never broken the law, yeah, call us. We're interested. We're going to take your case. We're going to be all over that case. We're going to do everything we can to win that case. I talk too much. But I still have more I want to say, but I'm going to cut it short. But from what you're hearing, how many of you think what we do as an organization is important? How many people have I convinced? How many of you think you should support an organization like the Muslim Legal Fund? And now we're going to give you that opportunity. The Muslim Legal Fund depends on donations. We are not funded by grants. We have no international funding coming from overseas. It's doing this exact program in every mosque in America. I travel the country 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Ask my wife. All I do is this right here. And when I get to this point, I say, I cannot pay for all the services for the legal fund. I can't just pay it. I can cheerlead. I can ask you, and if you and I together support it, we do a lot of work. In fact, we work with the ICW, the Center for Constitutional Rights, the Bill of Rights Defense Committee, the National Lawyers Guild, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. All of them, we can write briefs for them, and because we can give them so much help on everything they deal with for free, that they turn to us now for that. Tonight, I want to set a goal for fundraising. And I want to set a goal that we agree that we can do it before I start. And I always have a goal in my head that if I was a dictator, if I could just, like a mafia guy, take your money, you know how much I would take? I would charge each one of you a fee to sit here and listen to me. And I wouldn't let you leave until you paid it. You know what my fee is? My fee is $250 per person. You know why I want $250 per person? Because I think each one of you should at a minimum step up and pay for 1 hour of legal justice. That you should make that commitment with an organization that is there for you, and make sure you give at least $250 every year, however you want to do it. $10 a month, $20 a month, all at one time, any checks, credit, I don't care how you do it.
تذكر يوما كنت تعانق دمعة الفكر تناجي الله في صبر وترجو رحمة تسري فعاش القلب إخلاصا وصرت تحوم كالطير تحلق في ثقافات وتنهل من ربى الخير.